Would you want to recite a few lines of your
No,
favorite
it was
city?
in Bangla.
Would you want to try it in Bangla? Do you remember a few lines?
Very difficult now. Amar শহর নয় তো তেমন বুড়ো. It starts like my city is not that old. It's only about 300 and odd years old.
Do you think Calcutta or now Kolkata is still a young city?
It's young and old. It's young and
why
old.
do you think it's young and why do you think it's old?
Well, I think it's young because I think there's still a lot of energy now, and young people are energetic and interested and so on. And I think it's old because, like the rest of India, Calcutta too lives in different time frames at the same time. Because sometimes you live way back in, say, meeting some people here, you think that, oh, we're living in the 18th or 19th century, because their mindset is such. And then you meet some young people and you think you're living in the 21st century.
So there again we have a fusion.
Yes, there is a fusion, there is a contradiction, there's a clash, but whatever it is, it's not just stale. It's interesting.
Why would you say contradiction?
Contradiction because there would be a contradiction or a clash between these two different kinds of mindsets.
But these are different generations.
They may no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. There are very young people also belonging to families where I feel that they're still living in the 19th century or late 18th century in the way they think. And the whole family thinks like that. It's not a question of young people. And there are many people, of our generation or my parents' generation who are very liberal and very, there's a car coming. They're very liberal and very modern in their outlook. And so it's not a question simply of generation. And even if it is a question of generation in some cases, there's still a contradiction, I mean, both generations try to tell the other that they're right.
Okay, and do you often try to tell your daughters that
We don't
you
have a
are
generation
right?
gap.
You don't? Wonderful, wonderful. How have you overcome that?
I don't know, I've always
You
been
have two daughters, right?
I have two daughters, and we've always been great friends, and there have been very few shoulds in the way I've brought them up. It's always been letting them decide what they should want to do, they would want to do, and also warning them that these, you might come across these problems, but then if you're able to deal with them, then go ahead. That's usually been the way I've brought them up, and not held myself up as an example, but rather as a warning most of the time.
Oh. Well, that's probably the true South Asian scenario. I think we're all trying to cope with the contempo and sort of move on. South Asia is moving on, and when we say it's moving on, would you want to cite a few examples of how South Asia is going ahead?
Well, I think the scenario in Pakistan at the moment is very exciting. It's, they've succeeded in, it's terribly sad that Benazir Bhutto was assassinated, but then, but even so, since then, the fact that they've had an election and they're trying to forge ahead, people have expressed their the public will has been expressed, which I think is always very exciting in a democracy, when you find that the people's will has been executed.
Shall we? I mean, Pakistan's pretty clear by now, we're hoping. What about Nepal? How do you think Nepal is going to fare?
I don't know, but I find Bhutan very exciting.
You thought Bhutan was exciting?
Yes, we shot in Bhutan, and I find it wonderful that a monarch should try to bring about democracy in the way he has.
Well, I guess all the countries in South Asia and also outside South Asia called Bhutan a transition from monarchy to democracy.
Yeah.
I think India was one country which actually said that it's a royal democracy.
But I was there. I was actually shooting in Bhutan for a film of mine when all this was happening.
Oh, wow. And then?
So we talked to the people there, and they're very fond of their king. They're very fond of their king. And they had these, what are they called? I've now forgotten what they call, zong, or there are these it's a place of worship, and it's a place of, civil work that goes on, civil activity. there they had copies of the Constitution distributed to copies of a tentative constitution distributed everywhere, and people were supposed to look at it and then comment, and their comments would be looked at and incorporated. All that seemed very exciting to me. I don't know how much of it actually has come into effect, but it seemed a very nice way to go about it. And the monarch wanted to do it during his reign. He wanted to bring about this transition to democracy, which I thought was very interesting.
I thought the son was really doing a good job.